What's up, everybody, and welcome back. Man, what a wild sport mixed martial arts can be. And I don't know if there are examples of it, right? But Sean Strickland upsetting Israel Adesanya at UFC 293 this past weekend is up there amongst some of the greats, right? I personally think, like, when I think about biggest upset ever, I think about Sarah upsetting GSP the way he did, right? And also because, like, man, it's also just like, usually when you get an upset, it is like a finish usually, or some sort of surprising action. And Strickland just kind of dominated from bell to bell. You know, I mean, like, that was kind of the impressive part of it. You know what other upset I think about in the same sort of manner is Dillashaw versus Barao, where he really just went out and ran through him, and Barao hadn't lost in like 9 years. You know, like, I think about, like, that one's still up there for me. That's a huge one. But, man, Strickland is fucking good. And he just went out and applied constant pressure. And I think that stylistically, a lot of people thought this would be favorable for Izzy if it stayed on the feet, myself included. I thought Izzy was going to win this fight. And I missed the whole fight card. I just got to finally rewatch it back Monday when we got home. We were back in Pittsburgh for some weddings. And I woke up Sunday morning and saw the headlines. I was like, no fucking way, he did it. And I expected it to be like I said, maybe like ground and pound submission, like getting him to the ground. And no, he beat him in a very clear-cut decision. And of course, anytime there's a massive upset like this, there are narratives that start getting spun about Izzy looked off. He looked like kind of like he couldn't get going in there. And man, I didn't get that impression at all. I thought Izzy kind of fought how you normally see him fight. And I thought there were a couple things that helped Strickland get to the victory. Like, first off, if you guys noticed, like, Izzy feints a lot, right? Like, he relies on his feints throughout all of his fights to start setting other things up. And normally when he starts feinting, because it's coupled with the fact that he's so dangerous, right? His feints pose obvious threats. He gets big reactions out of guys. And when you're fighting Strickland, when he's showed up the way he is, he's really just moving his hands around every time Izzy feints. He's like meeting him with short, little, quick movements and not giving Izzy big reactions. So I think it's very hard to make reads when a guy's not like jerking his head back or changing his level or looking for your legs. Like, what you're trying to do is get, like, if I show you this, what's that tendency going to be? And then you capitalize on that tendency. And I just don't think that Strickland was giving him any tells. And it also helps that he just walks you down at this steady pace. Like, he is just always coming, but he really does walk. He's a little bit flat-footed, you know what I mean? And just marching him down. And when you're the person moving forward slow, he also, despite the fact that he moves slow, he does a great job of cutting the octagon off. Like, you don't catch that motherfucker following very often, even though he has this kind of lumbering pace. But he just put it on him, man. And I think that because Izzy wasn't able to get those reactions, it really allowed Strickland to kind of control a lot of the exchanges and wear on him. And think, too, from Izzy's perspective, if you're getting pressured backwards, the onus is on you to throw offense, because if not, you might worry, too, that Strickland is going to start closing the distance, pushing things up against the cage, making life hard on you in those situations. So you have to be constantly moving laterally to keep your back off the cage. And in addition to that, be throwing offense so that he's not throwing things down the middle at you. I mean, I just thought that, like I said, myself included, everyone thought that stylistically this was a great matchup for Izzy, and it ended up being a great one for Strickland. And the check leg kicks were big, but another thing that Strickland kept doing that Izzy couldn't deal with was that front kick that Strickland threw right down the middle. I mean, bam, Izzy had no answer for that. And the constant pressure, the good defense, the lack of reactions on the feints, all of those things just led to Strickland putting on a brilliant performance. And if you look at what happened to him against Pereira, it's easy to understand, or like easy to make the assumption that Izzy would be able to do the same kind of thing. But, man, it just wasn't true at all. And Strickland looked great. And Izzy couldn't find any success with his kicks, which are normally a huge weapon. You know, like, Strickland was always checking them, and he just, like, was always blocking every time Izzy would go up high, catching kicks if he went to the body. I mean, really a pretty flawless performance. I personally, their opinions are different on this. I thought Izzy did win round 2, right? I'd have to go back and watch it, to be honest. But other than that, I thought Strickland won every single round. And damn, we could go on about, like, you know, I just feel like because of his personality, there's this narrative that Strickland is just kind of like this, I don't know, like, not this skill. He's just incredibly skillful. And the fact that he He trains all the time. Like, I think we need to be talking about how skillful this motherfucker is. I mean, he's a world champion. And I think people are just talking about, like, Izzy looked flat, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, he looked on. He looked on, and I think that he's on, and he gets his timing very quickly. Like, from the opening bell, he's ready to go, and I think that's because he spars so often. It just helps him get reads early, and, I mean, fuck, man, he almost finished Izzy at the end of the first round. I mean, no, Sean Strickland, despite the fact that he has some losses on his record, you saw on Saturday night that he is a world championship level fighter. And in the post-fight press conference, Eugene Behrman was kind of saying, like, hey, I feel like Izzy, maybe we make some very minor adjustments and we win that fight. And it's like, do you? Do you really? I don't know. I mean, I believe that Izzy can make adjustments and come back and win, undoubtedly. Like I said, he's one of the most, like, incredible champions at 185 of all time. Like, going into this, people were debating he's as good as Anderson Silva, which, in my opinion, there was no one like Silva in his prime, right? But, I mean, I don't know if it is a matter of minor adjustments. Strickland looked like a world fucking champion on Saturday night, and I think that his style is a problem for a lot more people than we think it's going to be. You know, I don't know, man. I actually think, like, guys like Whitaker, Costa, those guys are interesting matchups. And we're also, one of the things that people are debating is whether Izzy should get the immediate title rematch. And, like, I don't think so. I think that we let the division move along. I think Strickland versus anybody is going to be super interesting. I mean, Paulo Costa, whenever he's booked up to fight, like, he's supposed to be fighting, Hamzat or whatever, right? But, like, that's an interesting fight. Whitaker's a good fight. Duplessis is a good fight. And Strickland earned his right to choose the next fighter. Just like Izzy said when he was the champion that he gets to call the shots, Strickland gets to call the shots now. And if he doesn't want to give Izzy the rematch, I don't think he's entitled to. I think he should move in whatever direction he wants to next. He's earned that right, and, man, he was fucking dominant. He was fucking dominant on Saturday night, and what an impressive performance. Hey, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. Do me a favor, if you guys enjoyed the video, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, all that good shit that we have to ask you guys to do. And, yeah, have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.